On the evening of July 13th, 2004, a voicemail was left on a home answering machine in Bloomington, Indiana. The message lasted 41 seconds. The person who left it has never been found. Her name was Jill Berman, 19 years old, a sophomore at Indiana University studying biology. She lived with 2 roommates in an off-campus apartment and worked part-time at a campus bookstore. She was training for a triathlon that summer. On the morning of May 31, 2000, Jill left her apartment just after 9 a.m. for a bike ride. She told her roommate she'd be back in an hour or two. She was wearing a white t-shirt, black shorts, and a red IU baseball cap. She took her mountain bike, a Silver Trek 800 Sport. She never returned. By that evening, her parents reported her missing. Within 48 hours, search teams were deployed across Monroe County. Her bike was found 5 days later, discarded in a wooded area roughly 3 miles from her apartment. There was no sign of Jill. The case drew regional attention. Flyers were distributed. Volunteers searched ravines, trails, abandoned properties. The FBI joined the investigation. But no credible sighting emerged. No ransom demand. No body. For 3 years, Jill Berman remained missing. Then, on March 25, 2003, a man walking his dog in a rural area south of Bloomington found human remains in a shallow, overgrown ditch. Dental records confirmed the identity. It was Jill. The coroner determined she had been shot once in the back of the head. Time of death, likely within days of her disappearance. Cause of death, homicide. An arrest was made 3 months later. A local man named John Myers II was charged with her murder. The trial began in 2006. Myers was convicted based largely on circumstantial evidence and imprisoned for 65 years. The case was officially closed. But the voicemail, left 3 years after Jill disappeared, 1 year after her remains were found, and 2 years before the trial, was never explained. July 13th, 2004. Eric and Marilyn Berman, Jill's parents, were at home in their house in Carmel, Indiana, roughly an hour north of Bloomington. It was early evening. They had been living with their daughter's death for 16 months. The phone rang. No one picked up. The answering machine activated. What was recorded was a voicemail that lasted 41 seconds. The voice was female, young, calm. There was background noise, wind, perhaps movement. The speaker did not identify herself. According to the Bermans, the voice said the following: "Hey, it's me. I just wanted to let you know I'm okay. I'm safe. I can't really talk right now, but I wanted you to know. I'll try to call again soon. I love you." Then the line went dead. Marilyn Berman later told investigators she believed the voice sounded like Jill. Eric Berman was less certain. He described it as similar, but not identical. He noted the phrasing felt familiar. Jill often said "it's me" when calling home, but the tone was slightly different. Flatter, more hurried. They saved the recording and contacted the Bloomington Police Department the following morning. The message was logged as evidence and forwarded to the FBI's Audio Forensics Unit in Quantico. A preliminary analysis was completed within 2 weeks. The results were inconclusive. The recording quality was poor. The background noise made voice isolation difficult. The sample length, 41 seconds, was considered insufficient for a definitive voice-print match. No existing baseline recording of Jill's voice had been archived for comparison, aside from a brief home video her parents provided, which was also of low audio quality. The FBI report noted the following: the speaker was likely female, age range approximately 16 to 30. No evidence of duress or coercion was detected in tone or cadence. Background sounds were consistent with an outdoor or semi-enclosed environment, possibly a phone booth, parking structure, or roadside. No identifiable ambient markers such as traffic patterns or regional accents could be confirmed. The case file notes that the investigation considered three primary explanations. 1. The call was a hoax. 2. The call was a case of mistaken identity or wrong number. 3. The call was genuine, and Jill Berman had somehow survived. But Jill's body had been positively identified. Dental records, DNA, skeletal analysis. She had been dead for over a year when the voicemail was left. The Bloomington Police Department classified the call as unexplained but not evidentiary. It was not introduced at trial. John Myers' defense team was made aware of it, but did not reference it in court. It remains in the case file as an unresolved anomaly. The phone number the call originated from was never disclosed publicly. Attempts to trace it through phone company records reportedly led to a prepaid cell phone with no registered owner. The phone was activated in late June 2004 and deactivated shortly after the call was made. No other outgoing or incoming calls were logged on the device. Prepaid phones were common in 2004. They required no identification to purchase. Once deactivated, tracing the purchaser was nearly impossible without video surveillance or witness testimony. There is no public record of either. The Bermans were interviewed multiple times. Both stated they did not recognize the phone number. They did not know anyone who would have access to details about Jill's manner of speaking or her relationship with her parents. They did not believe it was a prank. Marilyn Berman reportedly listened to the message more than 50 times in the days following its receipt. She insisted it was her daughter's voice. Eric Berman could not say the same with certainty. No other family members were asked to listen to the recording. No friends or former roommates were brought in for voice comparison. The recording was not released to the public. In the years since, it has been requested under Freedom of Information Act filings by journalists and independent researchers. Those requests have been denied on the basis that the recording is part of an active homicide file. As of this recording, the voicemail has never been made publicly available. John Myers II was convicted of Jill Berman's murder in January 2006. The case against him was built on the following. He lived in the area where Jill disappeared. He had no verifiable alibi for the morning of May 31, 2000. He had a history of minor criminal offenses. A witness claimed Myers had made incriminating statements about the case in a bar several months after Jill's disappearance. No physical evidence directly linked Myers to the crime. No DNA. No fingerprints. No murder weapon. The witness testimony was considered questionable by some legal analysts, as the individual had initially come forward years after the alleged conversation and had a prior relationship with local law enforcement. Myers maintained his innocence. He continues to do so. The voicemail was not mentioned during the trial. Prosecutors did not address it. The defense did not use it. In interviews conducted after the conviction, the lead prosecutor was asked about the July 2004 call. He stated it had been investigated and deemed irrelevant to the case. He did not elaborate. Myers' current legal team has referenced the voicemail in post-conviction filings, arguing it constitutes exculpatory evidence that was improperly excluded. Those motions have been denied. The voicemail remains sealed. In the absence of public access to the recording, speculation has filled the silence. Some have suggested the call was placed by someone with knowledge of the case who wanted to create reasonable doubt or distract investigators. Others believe it was an emotionally disturbed individual who inserted themselves into a high-profile tragedy. A smaller number have proposed that the voice belonged to someone who knew Jill personally, a friend, acquaintance, or relative, who bore a resemblance in tone and was unaware their words would be interpreted as a message from the deceased. There is also the possibility, however remote, that the recording was altered or fabricated. Without access to the original file, Independent verification is impossible. The Berman family has not spoken publicly about the voicemail since 2007. Requests for interviews on this matter have been declined. What remains undocumented is this: why was the voicemail not analyzed by multiple independent forensic teams? Why was it excluded from trial proceedings if it had the potential to influence the outcome? Why has it never been released, even in redacted form, to provide transparency in a case where a man is serving a life sentence? And if the call was definitively proven to be a hoax or misidentification, why is that conclusion not part of the public record? The case file for Jill Berman contains hundreds of pages: witness statements, search logs, autopsy reports, evidence inventories. But the voicemail, 41 seconds long, recorded on a summer evening in 2004, is described only in summary, its contents paraphrased, its origin unknown. It has never been heard outside a small circle of investigators and family members. Jill Berman was killed in the year 2000. A man was convicted of her murder in 2006. But 3 years after she disappeared and 1 year after her body was found, someone called her parents' home and left a message that said, "I'm okay, I'm safe." No explanation has been provided. No follow-up call was ever received. The recording still exists, somewhere in a case file, sealed, unheard. And the question it raises has never been answered. If you followed a case where a single piece of evidence was never explained, or if you've encountered an investigation with a detail that was quietly set aside, we'd like to hear about it. This is the Unfound Folder. We don't solve cases. We document what remains unresolved.